The Feminine Nakshatras, Part 4. Purva Ashada Ascendant, Feminine Nakshatra ruled by Venus in Sagittarius. With Purva Ashada rising, the ascendant lies in expansive, idealistic Sagittarius. This Venus-ruled feminine nakshatra gives the native an emotionally expressive, socially charming, and aspirational personality. These individuals seek emotional affirmation through ideals, creative pursuits, or social reform. There is a constant desire to move toward higher emotional or moral ground, yet a lingering emotional volatility when their vision is not met in relationships. The seventh house lies in Gemini, where Mrigashira, late, Ardra, and Punarvasu, early, nakshatras shape the partner's nature with intellectual curiosity, emotional complexity, and versatile expression. When a feminine planet like Moon or Venus is in the first house in Purva Ashada, the native appears radiant, emotionally enthusiastic, and generous in love. They attract partners who are mentally stimulating, playful, or emotionally inquisitive. If the seventh house contains a masculine planet like Sun in Ardra or Mars in Mrigashira, the partner may be quick-witted, intense, or passionate in speech and behavior. The relationship is marked by growth through dialogue. Both partners challenge each other to match words with wisdom and passion with patience. With a masculine planet like Sun or Mars in the ascendant, the Purva Ashada native is fiery, expressive, and often seeks admiration for their ideals or beliefs. They are romantic crusaders who want relationships to be exciting and purpose-driven. If the seventh house hosts a feminine planet like Moon in Punarvasu or Venus in Ardra, the partner brings emotional receptivity, depth, and a need for trust. The union demands emotional honesty and intellectual engagement, where love becomes a meeting of philosophies as much as hearts. Neuter planets like Mercury or Saturn in the first house shape the native into a more thoughtful, reserved, or structured version of this otherwise idealistic nakshatra. These individuals still carry emotional drive, but channel it through reason or duty. If the seventh house contains a feminine planet like Venus in Mrigashira, the partner adds emotional grace and intellectual spark. These pairings often work best when communication is honest, humor is shared, and emotional expectations are moderated by flexibility. Masculine planets in both houses, Mars in Purva Ashada, Sun in Ardra, generate dynamic, talkative, and often confrontational partnerships. There's a mutual drive to influence or reform, but unless ego is softened, conversations may spiral into competitive debates. These unions evolve through spiritual maturity and the courage to embrace emotional nuance. Feminine planets on both ends, Moon in Purva Ashada and Venus in Mrigashira, form highly expressive, creative, and emotionally intelligent relationships. These bonds often feel exciting, poetic, and karmically rich. However, the native must learn to balance emotional enthusiasm with realistic timelines and the partner's need for space. Neuter planets like Saturn and Mercury in both houses create relationships built on steady learning, shared routines, and enduring curiosity. While less fiery than other combinations, these relationships often become lasting through quiet emotional loyalty and shared visions. Purva Ashada ascendants carry the flame of passionate transformation. The Gemini seventh house brings partners who question, converse, and inspire. The sole lesson here is that love is not just about the right person, but the right mindset, where flexibility, curiosity, and gentle accountability become the bridge between ideal and intimacy. Uttara Ashada ascendant, feminine nakshatra ruled by Sun, in Sagittarius Capricorn. With Uttara Ashada rising, the ascendant spans from idealistic Sagittarius into disciplined Capricorn, reflecting a deep blend of moral clarity and structured ambition. As a feminine nakshatra ruled by the Sun, it expresses emotional strength through consistency, principle, and a drive toward legacy building. These natives often carry a quiet emotional resilience and feel a deep responsibility to uphold truth in their relationships. The seventh house falls in Gemini or Cancer, with Ardra, Punarvasu, and Pushya nakshatras shaping the partner's energy, emphasizing intellectual liveliness, emotional optimism, or nurturing depth. When a feminine planet like Moon or Venus is in the first house in Uttara Ashada, the native radiates understated grace, maturity, and relational sincerity. They often attract partners who stimulate the mind or nourish the heart. If the seventh house contains a masculine planet like Mars in Ardra or Sun in Punarvasu, the partner is assertive, articulate, and emotionally optimistic, but may also be erratic or impatient with emotional depth. This dynamic requires the native to ground the relationship in integrity, while the partner infuses it with freshness and mental spark. With a masculine planet like Mars or Sun in the ascendant, the native is purposeful, structured, and confident, often viewed as a leader or stabilizer. If the seventh house holds a feminine planet like Venus in Punarvasu or Moon in Pushya, the partner brings softness, emotional vision, or caregiving instincts. The relationship becomes a sacred exchange, where the native offers structure and the partner, devotion. The lesson lies in letting emotional nourishment in without dismissing it as distraction. Neuter planets like Mercury or Saturn in the first house enhance Uttara Ashada's discipline, realism, and intellectual idealism. These natives may approach love practically, but seek emotionally meaningful results. If the seventh house contains a feminine planet like Moon in Pushya or Venus in Punarvasu, the partner reawakens the native's emotional fluency. These bonds mature through time, reflection, and emotionally intelligent dialogue. Masculine planets in both houses, Mars in Uttara Ashada and Sun in Ardra, create high-functioning, mission-driven partnerships. Both may be devoted to personal or social causes. While emotionally lean at times, such unions can be strengthened through shared values and a deep sense of mutual responsibility. Feminine planets in both, Moon in Uttara Ashada and Venus in Pushya, form emotionally wise, nourishing relationships grounded in shared purpose and inner calm. These partnerships carry a timeless quality and often feel like soul contracts built around support, growth, and caretaking. Neuter planets like Saturn and Mercury in both houses produce partnerships built on structure, mutual respect, and progressive values. They may be less emotive externally, but contain enduring loyalty, especially when both partners are committed to the slow unfolding of intimacy. Uttara Ashada ascendants carry the karmic blueprint of dignified service and emotional endurance. The Gemini or Cancer seventh house draws partners who are emotionally expressive, mentally curious, or nurturing by nature. Their journey in love is to allow softness without compromising structure, to understand that emotional presence is not a detour from purpose, but its most sacred ally. Dhanishta ascendant, feminine nakshatra ruled by Mars, in Capricorn Aquarius. With Dhanishta rising, the ascendant spans from the structured world of Capricorn to the visionary realm of Aquarius. This nakshatra, though ruled by the fiery Mars, is feminine in classification, expressing its strength not through aggression, but through rhythm, legacy, and social impact. Dhanishta natives are ambitious, socially adept, and often driven by a desire to contribute meaningfully to the collective. They carry an intuitive understanding of timing, knowing when to lead, when to retreat, and when to harmonize. The seventh house falls in Cancer or Leo, with Pushya, Ashlesha, and Magha Nakshatras shaping the relational field through emotional depth, psychic sensitivity, and royal devotion. When a feminine planet like Venus or Moon is in the first house in Dhanishta, the native carries elegance, charm, and a quiet emotional power. They are relationship-oriented, yet often guarded or strategic with their affection. If the seventh house contains a masculine planet like Mars in Magha or Sun in Ashlesha, the partner appears proud, intense, and emotionally expressive. This creates a compelling polarity, where the native's subtle control meets the partner's need for visibility or emotional assertion. The bond thrives when both recognize emotional power as a shared currency rather than a contested domain. With a masculine planet like Sun or Mars in the ascendant, the Dhanishta native is commanding, organized, and bold in public life, but still retains emotional layers that only emerge in safe intimacy. These individuals often attract partners who are nurturing, emotionally intuitive, or even energetically transformative. If a feminine planet like Moon is in Pushya or Venus in Ashlesha in the seventh, the partner helps the native soften their pace and reconnect with emotional rhythm. The relationship invites the Dhanishta native to blend drive with devotion. Neuter planets like Saturn or Mercury in the first house reinforce the native's focus, restraint, and planning abilities. These individuals may suppress emotional needs in favor of responsibility, productivity, or long-term vision. If the seventh house holds a feminine planet like Venus in Magha or Moon in Ashlesha, the partner becomes the portal through which emotional awareness reemerges. These bonds mature through conscious integration of practical and emotional worlds. Masculine planets in both houses, Mars in Dhanishta and Sun in Magha, create ambitious, purposeful, and performance-driven relationships. Both partners may excel in public or creative domains, but emotional connection requires conscious cultivation. Ego conflicts or pride must be channeled into co-creation, not competition. Feminine planets in both Moon in Dhanishta and Venus in Ashlesha bring emotional magnetism, devotion, and karmic entanglement. These relationships may feel fated, often carrying roles of healer and protector. However, clarity and grounding are essential to prevent emotional overwhelm or control dynamics masked as care. Neuter planets like Mercury and Saturn in both first and seventh houses produce disciplined, long-haul partnerships. Love in these unions grows through shared duties, intellectual synergy, and enduring respect. While initially reserved, they blossom into emotionally reliable and deeply rooted companionships. Dhanishta ascendants carry the pulse of timing, legacy, and rhythm. The Cancer or Leo seventh house draws emotionally expressive, devoted, or charismatic partners. Their core lesson in love is to realize that emotional security and legacy building are not separate goals. True power lies in harmonizing emotional trust with worldly structure and in letting the heart guide the rhythm of relationship. Revati ascendant, feminine nakshatra ruled by Mercury, in Pisces. With Revati rising, the ascendant falls in Pisces, the final sign of the zodiac, symbolizing endings, transcendence, and boundless compassion. As a feminine nakshatra ruled by Mercury, Revati channels its strength through softness, nurturance, and deep emotional attunement. These natives are gentle, poetic, and often serve as emotional anchors for others. They long for soulful connection, but may struggle to maintain clear boundaries or consistent energy. The seventh house lies in Virgo, where Uttara Falguni, Hasta, and Chitra nakshatras govern partnerships through practicality, discernment, and refined service. When a feminine planet like Moon or Venus is in the first house in Revati, the native radiates empathy, grace, and an almost ethereal presence. They attract partners who are organized, skillful, and emotionally reliable. If the seventh house contains a masculine planet like Sun in Hasta or Mars in Chitra, the partner appears confident, capable, and performance-oriented. The contrast between the native's emotional sensitivity and the partner's worldly focus creates a dynamic where the Revati native may idealize the partner, while the partner brings them down to earth. The relationship matures when emotional flow meets structured care. With a masculine planet like Mars or Sun in the ascendant, the native appears more assertive, expressive, and courageous, yet retains Revati's soft emotional undercurrents. These individuals often step into leadership roles in creative or healing spaces. If the seventh house contains a feminine planet like Moon in Uttara Falguni or Venus in Hasta, the partner brings emotional grounding and relational reliability. The union becomes one of healing polarity. Divine masculine meets sacred feminine, each nurturing the other's missing pieces. Neuter planets like Saturn or Mercury in the first house make the native more measured, observant, and emotionally regulated. These Revati types may appear emotionally composed, but carry deep inner tenderness. If the seventh house holds a feminine planet like Moon in Hasta or Venus in Chitra, the partner reawakens emotional depth through presence, affection, or artistic intimacy. The relationship often becomes a container for mutual refinement, where one brings the dream and the other, the design. When masculine planets occupy both first and seventh houses, Mars in Revati, Sun in Chitra, the relationship can be passionate, expressive, and purpose-driven. Yet emotional sensitivity may be easily overlooked in favor of action and achievement. This pairing thrives when both partners slow down to feel rather than fix. Feminine planets in both Moon in Revati and Venus in Hasta form loving, spiritually resonant, and service-oriented relationships. These partnerships are often emotionally intertwined and can feel like sacred duties. However, emotional boundaries must be maintained to avoid self-sacrifice or martyrdom under the guise of devotion. Neuter planets like Mercury or Saturn in both houses result in quietly evolving, dependable bonds. These partnerships may not display overt romance, but are strong in reliability, shared responsibility, and emotional safety. Revati ascendants are dreamers, empaths, and healers, born to elevate emotion into something divine. The Virgo seventh house draws in practical, service-minded, and emotionally capable partners. Their sole lesson in love is to honor their need for sensitivity without losing their voice, to understand that the right partner won't demand solidity, but will help them anchor their soul gently into the world.